how do you prepare for talks in a way that's faster without sacrificing clarity? There's two concepts I want to introduce you to. The first one is called P-seat. Now, this is something that I learned just after years of facilitation, understanding there was a pattern to explaining something to a new audience who hadn't heard it before. And when I consistently followed it, I got better results. So when we think about any conversation, it's basically call and response, a question and an answer in return. So Q and A. And most people, what they do is they just go straight into their answer without any form of structure that ends up honestly just being a 10-minute ramble with no clear point. And you're giving the onus on the other person, the audience, to now pick apart, hear what you said, remember it all, and then pick apart what it means to them in their world. And that's the difference between a poor answer, one that's easily forgotten, and an answer that sticks with someone for years to come. So the question is then, how do I structure the answer? Well, you make a point, a clear, single, controlling idea that you put at the very top of your answer as a way to anchor and give context to everything else you're about to say. From there, you elaborate on your point with a story, a real world example, or a more clever analogy that helps take what would be a vague or conceptual idea and connect it to something that they might actually know and understand because of similar characteristics. Analogies are great for understanding something we can't, intangible, something we can't see or haven't experienced itself. Concrete examples are great for connecting to someone's direct real world experience, and a story is great for emotional buy-in. And when you do all three and or mix and match and combine them together, then you get a really powerful combination of stories, examples, and analogies that illustrate your point. And then the thing that most people miss, because they think, well, I made my point at the very beginning, is they don't sandwich it. And they clearly give their audience one single takeaway, explaining all the things you just said over the last 2 to 5 minutes with this one question: what does this mean to you? Because that's what people are thinking about. Whenever you're answering a question, people want to know, okay, well, based off of what you said, what does this mean for me? And when you take this then becomes a little package. You've wrapped this up. Every single question you're answering has a clear 2-minute point, story, and takeaway, or point, example, takeaway, or point, analogy, and takeaway that you can then deliver, which would clearly explain your thoughts. Because a talk is basically a presentation, or a presentation is simply a series of points and stories that answers the questions your audience have in their heads about your idea. So when you take this concept of packaging your answers together using P-seat, now how you use that in a presentation is thinking, well, what question does my audience want answered right now? A presentation is just knowing, a better presentation is just knowing what are the burning questions your audience needs answered in order to be satisfied walking away from here. Because if an audience has a lingering question in the back of their minds after your talk, they're not going to buy in, they're not going to believe, they're not going to take action. So what I've done for a presentation outline to help structure talks better is just create it in a question format. It's broken down into your basic information, which is just what is the topic about, but mainly into 3 parts. The first part is your start, the middle, which I break down into a logical structure of past, present, and future. What happened, what's happening now, and what do we want to have happen. Now you can easily replace past, present, and future with any other question that your audience want answered. And then the end. And that's the highest level structure of it, a start, middle, and end. And in the middle, you answer three different questions, the top questions your audience wants to know. And when you dive deeper into start, you'll see that's broken down into three different areas. Well, your intro, who are you and why should I listen? The problem, do you understand what I'm going through right now? What's pain are they feeling? How does it make them feel? What's causing it? And then your solution, your big belief breaking idea, the thing that you anchor at the very front to give context to everything else you're about to say. And then past, present, and future, or question one, question two, question three, simply expands upon your controlling idea, breaking it down to three easy parts that people might want to know. Well, how does it work? What if this happens? Or what does this actually look like in real life? As examples. And then within each question, you'll see past, which again, just remember this is just a question. Your answer then becomes point. What is the one idea you want them to write down? A story. What's a personal story that supports your one idea? And a takeaway, what does this mean to you? And you rinse and repeat. I like for past, because we've experienced something that is great for a story. For the present, a concrete real life example is a great way to illustrate current day conditions. And future, something vague and abstract in that we haven't been able to experience as yet, is best explained with an analogy that helps connect something intangible to something they already know. And then when you end your presentation, I like the three R's. Reframe. How is this problem actually an opportunity in disguise? And what should we immediately do after this presentation to take advantage of that opportunity? And if they only remember one thing, let it be this. And when you build a presentation using a question-based format, it takes a lot of that guesswork out of is this going to make sense? Because you've built it in a way that creates a logical structure for your information, the ideas in your head to be transferred to someone else, and you've built that up over time versus just giving them the information, which becomes isolated information, doesn't connect to what they already know, and you're not walking them through your idea so that again they can buy in, believe, and take action. So I'm going to pause this video and I encourage you to go through the start, past, present, future, and end and try it yourself. What is the question that I'm trying to answer based off of what I know my answer is, which is often this 10-minute long explanation? What is the one idea I want them to take away? What's a story, example, or analogy I can use to explain it? And what is the key takeaway I need to give them, which answers the question, what this means to you is. All right, thanks for listening.